Homesteads and Homeschools as part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out This Week in Liberpods, Peace Freaks, Cannabis Heals Me, and Free Market's Green Earth. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.
Howdy. What's cracking? It's me again, the Liberty Hippie, here with you back again for another week. Episode number 84 this week. So that means you can find the show notes at homesteadsandhomeschools.com/084. Oh, this week's episode is an interesting one. I will tell you that right now. I planned on having Theodore Quinoa of Crowdfunded Government on to talk kind of about his thing, and some of his views have been changing, I think, a little bit over the past based on some podcast appearances, and so I want to have him on and kind of talk about his ideas of how crowdfunded government and such have changed, and how that could look for homesteads and homeschools and the more home-centric lifestyles. But he brought some guests with him, and so it went off the rails fairly quickly, I think. It was a good show. It was a fun show, but I hope you guys all enjoy it. It is an interesting conversation. And, if you like it, let me know. Maybe I can do this again with some other randos on here. Just start pulling people off Twitter and we can have a chat. Who knows? Whatever. And if you don't like it, let me know too. And I will refrain from doing such nonsense in the future. But that's it for now. So let's go plant those seeds of liberty with my guest, Mr. Theodore Quinoa.
I don't care. Walking downtown, crazy auto car gonna mow me down. Look at all the people like cows in a herd. Well, I like birds. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on.
All right, so I have multiple guests today, apparently, on today's show for you all to listen to. My main guest being Theodore Quinoa of, some of you guys may know him from Crowdfunded Government. If you haven't heard of him, it'll be interesting for you to hear about it. I know it's kind of a break from the homesteading and homeschool straight up side of things. So hope you guys enjoy it. So Theodore, thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going?
I'm good. So you're Theodore, and I know we got Hans over there as well, and someone else. I forget the other name you had mentioned.
Lootie.
So Lootie. Hans and Lootie.
Lootie is out looting right now.
Okay. All right, Hans, you want to say hi so people know who you are?
Hey, my name is Hans Bass, and I am happy to be here. I know you invited just Theodore, but I do want to thank you in advance for letting me join.
He has a lot to say about homesteading, so.
Okay.
I just pulled my eggs out of my chicken coop just like 5 minutes ago, so.
Very nice. Yeah, good deal. I just ended up putting mine away. We had a raccoon come in one time, and I've been shutting them up since. And man, I got to get up every morning. Like there's no sleeping in anymore, and it's starting to bother me.
I know exactly. I set up a raccoon trap and caught 7 raccoons in 6 nights, and that's because on the final night I caught 2 baby raccoons in the trap. It's been wild over here, but it's been good for the last couple months.
Good deal. Yeah, they clear cut. There's like a big lot behind us. I think it's like 300 or 400 acres, and they clear cut it all. And so for a while, like everything was just coming through. But yeah. So
how did you prevent that? What's like an example of a technique?
I just put a door on we had a door on the coop, and I just hadn't shut it before because I didn't need to. It's in a fence. It's all enclosed, chicken wire. But it got through and did some damage on some baby chicks and a mama hen. So I just started shutting the door now. Didn't need to, but now I need to. And
I'm going to move it into a positive direction for you. So I brought somebody who does a lot of homesteading techniques and really wants to talk about it. And then I brought somebody who is a city boy who does not like homesteading, homeschooling, and is just anti everything involving this movement. And I couldn't believe that there was somebody with these extreme thoughts. So, Lootie.
I can't believe you're friends with someone like that.
Oh, I'm friends with people I disagree with the most. In fact, my best friends are the ones that I disagree with the most because we have the most fun. I learn the most through the people I disagree with. I don't like hanging out with people I do agree with. They're not very fun.
And he pays us. So you didn't get any money? I guess I'm the only valuable thought around here. So
Lootie didn't get a dime.
Man, I'm kind of so. Where crowdfunded government? Because I think some people in the more home centric lifestyles are kind of a little more focused on them and theirs and what's going on. And they might think voting Republican might give them more freedom to do what they want or whatever. What is this idea of crowdfunded government that you have?
Well, a crowdfunded government is a actually politically neutral idea. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about getting rid of taxes. So if you want to pay for the roads, instead of paying taxes, you just pay what you would normally pay for the roads.
That makes sense, right? If I'm a vegetarian, I don't want to be subsidizing, industrial agriculture, putting all the cows through the meat processing or whatever else it may be. But
well, then you shouldn't have to pay for it.
And
right.
This is Hans here. I've been a vegan for 6 years, and I'll tell you, it's certainly bipartisan in the sense that I like the concept, and I don't want to support things that I don't want to pay for.
Yeah, that's it, right? I mean, you think it should boil down to something of that nature. It only makes sense, but we're not.
Well,
don't have that luxury.
Yeah, and the technology's here. That's the beauty about it. I'm a business owner, and one of the first things you do in entrepreneurship is you ask, why doesn't this concept already exist? And the moment you realize a new variable has been added to the equation, which is technology, you realize, okay, this is a conversation that could never even be dreamed of 10 years ago. So no wonder it's being discussed. And I think there are a lot of people that are completely dedicated to the idea that, of course, you pay taxes. It's so ingrained into us. But when you step back and realize, well, we dictate what the rules are, and we have the ability to have more efficiency than ever before because of the new thing that's been added, which is technology, it's a knockout discussion to have, and it's the future of government.
Yeah, I really think, it's a kind of something along those lines. Because you think about and his homesteads and homeschools, right? So I talk a lot of the homeschooling type, and if that's what you're doing, why am I paying for public school? Why are your grandparents paying for public school? I mean, how does that work? And the technology, I guess, is here. I'm not sure what exactly that would look like. I don't know. Do you have an idea of that? Are you talking like blockchain type stuff, or what do you?
Blockchain is a great example of how, if you were trying to transfer money from people for government programs, it'd be an accountable way to do it. Definitely put it on a ledger.
And I'm not smart enough to understand blockchain, but what I can say is what I see personally is an accessible website where you log in and your profile loads, and you have the parties that want your money and why, and they explain how they're going to pay it. And you can donate, you can fund those things together, crowd with people who have the same interests. And for the first time ever, we're holding politicians accountable from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, maybe to a degree. I think, it feels like maybe we are, but
I got off the topic of homeschooling though, and that's where I wanted to bring in Wino, or whatever his name is,
Lootie.
I thought
Looting the wine stores. Yeah.
He doesn't even know his friends' names.
Wino is literally passed out from wine. He's not at the table, but I'm trying to bring him back because I want to understand why he's anti-homeschool, because we just heard a great explanation from Hans about how technology is going to make homeschooling much more practical and possible. And you heard my explanation that if you're paying for public schools but you don't support them and you use all your money for homeschooling efforts, maybe you should pay less for public schools. And then we got Lootie. Lootie, where do you fall on this?
On homeschooling?
Yeah.
I guess I think I'm a reformist to the public school system more than I am an advocate for homeschooling.
Why? Why? Like, is it?
There's already existing infrastructure. Like, why not adapt to it and let an idea that makes sense run it rather than trying to. I mean, revolution is always difficult, right? You look at history; it's very painful for most peoples. So I guess that's why I generally just lean that way strategically. So there's huge cost advantages. I think technology assists with a lot of things, but I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, but I think a huge portion of the value of public school has very little to do with what's being taught there, but it has a large amount to do with the interaction that people get with those in their peer group.
So I think to a degree, right?
By the way, I just want to give you a quick second on my background. I have 5 nephews who are all homeschooled. And so I'm very familiar that it's not like a cartoon black and white cutout of like, oh, you just don't get to visit with anyone other than your siblings. I just think that sometimes the harsh reality of a broad populace against the individual does a lot to shape their mentality. I think that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, no, I think there's a couple things there. I think you're right in that the educational part of public school is one of the I don't know, I forget the word you use, but the least important parts, but the least it's like, it really what you're learning there has just gone downhill, and I don't know, I taught in public school, I went to public school, and I've in my short time I've seen it change, and it's just, but I do think the homeschooling can go 2 ways, right? You can lock your kid in the basement, and you can never let them see the light of day, and there's that side of it. But there's also, so much more with technology, right? Like homeschool groups, meeting up, and you have groups of 30 kids hang out, or go to a church building and meet, and they do, switch your teacher for whatever, moms do one subject and somebody else does, that sort of thing. And I think you do get some of that exposure to, acceptable social norms that you might not get just living with your family. And I think you're kind of seeing that more and more as the homeschool population is growing, and, kind of, it's getting out there, right? Before, I think when I was growing up, it was, you didn't have the internet to find other people to come on board to get involved.
It looks like Wino has a complaint over here. It looks like Mr. the writer, Mr. Lootie himself.
Well, before he jumps into it, I'm joining us, Hans, here. Like, the fact is, I mean, I don't know why we can't just merge the technology that is now available in our hands even, and bring that to the homestead so that you can give your children maybe a centralized, I would like to see Lootie argue the value of a centralized education system versus one where the children are raised by the parents. I think the argument where you say, hey, there's all this value in all these people being together in these, schoolroom classrooms, which are industrial complexes. There's more value in that than a child being raised by their parents in their house, where their child can learn more values and spend more time learning what actually matters in life.
I mean, wait, am I supposed to? All right. No, I just think. It's hard to know if somebody's like memeing at you, or if they're actually saying anything that's like real. I'm going to put a stop
to this really quick, because I need to ask you, Wino, which is. You're sober now? You're no longer Wino? Okay.
His name is Lootie.
Lootie is no longer Wino. He stepped away for a bit and passed out. He was had a little bit too much wine. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was set on exactly, Lootie, what is the position, short and sweet?
Well, I don't know what the position is, short and sweet, but I would say I totally agree, first of all, with parents raising the kids, with a massive church presence as part of a foundational social experience for a child. So I think both of those things are tremendous wins. I don't think that does anything with the public school system in any way. Those are cultural things that stand outside of the public school system, even though the public school system has tried to hijack them in weird ways. But frankly, there are a bunch of buildings. Kids benefit from being around each other from specific age groups by age group. because it broadens their ability to socialize effectively.
You think that's more valuable than being with parents every day?
Hold on, Liberty
No.
Hippie. Hold on, Liberty Hippie. I'm sorry, man. What's up? What do we have to say in response to that crazy thing that Wino over there was saying?
Well, I think, yeah, you have all those buildings, right? Great, wonderful. What can you do? And you can do something else with them. I think when you have parents giving values, and that's great, right? Whatever those values may be, my values are different than yours. Yours are different than somebody else's, and that's that.
We probably have very, very similar values, actually. I mean, we come from the same background. I'm presuming you're a white male. Same most things. I think we probably adhere on a lot of things, actually. We probably aren't that different.
His name's Ben.
Ben. Oh, I'm sorry. Ben, I didn't get your name. I was drunk in the corner. My apologies.
Wino.
All good. I'm just saying, in general, right? Like, I think allowing parents to, I think when a kid is able to develop their values with a concrete foundation, right? It's the parents' values. That will go further than, having a 4-year-old, 5-year-old go through, okay, I'm with this teacher for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, getting all these values from these people. And then when I come home, it's different, whether it's cultural, societal, religious, whatever it may be. There was something else he said.
Who said that? Lootie said? Lootie, were you talking about exactly what, Ben?
I don't remember. I think like when you when you get into that was the other thing, right? Classrooms. You're in these peer groups. When you go to work at your job,
yep.
Like you're not with everybody in your peer
group. You are
group.
expected to have a lot of social skills necessarily within your peer group, probably within 4 years, and that's all high school is, and really, you don't extend out much beyond that.
Well, why are we just assuming that everyone wants to work in a corporate structure that is unified and taking the soul out of these people? It absolutely does, because what you're saying is that the school system essentialized.
The argument that you're making right now is an attack on the current public schooling system. Again, I am not an advocate for the current public schooling system. I'm simply saying it's easier to reform an existing institution than it is to rebuild some random new one.
To allow people to then go into their cattle jobs at doing cattle work in the herds. Why do we have to look at things as that, whatever's the most efficient way to profit, that you have to,
why do you think that's going to change if everyone's homeschooled?
Because I think they're going to realize that
do you think there's not going to be space for corporations in America anymore?
I think absolutely people will invest more of their time into advancing their education on their passions. Absolutely, without a doubt. And once they pursue those passions, they will do great things. So, and I believe that there's a massive amount of people that have been brought into the cattle herd mentality of bringing them to school, giving you detention when you're late, and passing that off to the corporate world. And of course, corporate responds to what they can hire at cheap wages, because these children have given up on their goals in life because their teachers don't support them.
And I
some
think
do, some don't. So
another aspect, like when you go through school, you get done with high school, right? Your guidance counselor and everybody else is telling you to go to college. Why are you going to college? So you can get that corporate job. So you can be just another widget on the line. And now when you get out of school, you have all this debt and you have to take that job. You have to do that to pay that debt. I think with when you kind of get out of that mentality.
Wait, is that the public school system or the private school system?
Both.
I think it's any school system. I think homeschooling.
I don't remember coming out of high school with debt. That's all. I might have missed something in there.
No, I'm not saying high school. I'm saying like when I was teaching, I taught in Brooklyn for a year or whatever, a couple of years. And, they were so proud of, they had like 98% of kids get accepted to college and go to school for their freshman year of college. And I don't know what the retention rate was, but you got to assume like how many of those kids are actually going to school because they need to be there. How many of those kids are going to come out of school debt free, right? They're all going to have some sort of debt on them because why? Because somebody thought that they needed to, because they're told when you go through public school, that's what you're told. You're told, go to college because you got to go to college because you got to get a job so you can make all this. And if you cut that out a bit, and I think homeschooling kind of allows you to do that. You can take college classes still in high school, right? You can dual enroll. You can
All of
follow
which
your
you think
passions, right?
Was centralized education propaganda. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't leap that far, but
Why can you not leap that far?
I mean, all right, fine. I'm leaping that far.
Okay.
It's absolutely centralized by the government and controlled in terms of who gets education and how. I mean, why don't we have financial education?
Even private institutions.
Why don't
have
we
to
provide
meet certain
financial education in high school? And once I understand an answer to that, I will gladly rethink my thought that keep people dumb, put them through the line, and have them take on a lot of debt so they're paying it off for their first 10 years of ambitious outlooks in life, and then let them pay off the rest of the bills because now they have children and they're going to live in debt for the rest of their lives. They die. I can't think of a better business model. Now that we're aware of this business model, why would we make efforts to reform a centralized system that has a history of being corrupt versus providing guidelines on what centralized government thinks you should talk about? But then actually when corporations want to hire, they interview and test the people for their cognitive abilities and their experience. Why do we need a centralized system at all with any form of reform? The problem is you need to reform the DNA. You need to revolutionize. It's absolutely a revolution. It's not a reform.
I am so bored of this argument, I could scream. Okay? This is so pointless. To try to suggest that, like all of these whatever phantom problems you want to come up with for an imagined centralized system or not.
People are a byproduct of their environment.
Yeah. Look, I don't know how you're ever going to break them outside of that. Like you can expand that bubble infinitely, can't you?
No.
Yes, you definitely can.
I absolutely can tell you how it's not done.
Well, so what I'm saying is the argument of like brainwashing people is not really an argument for total revolution. It doesn't speak for advocacy for homeschooling at all. I want to hear positive outcomes for homeschooling if I'm going to be convinced there needs to be a revolution and not a reformation.
But what you're saying with that assumption is that centralized education remains superior than decentralized education.
Yes. Actually, I can make an empirical argument for that. Well, maybe not empirical, really somewhat logical. If you're going to talk about the education system being a catalyst or like a what do we say, platform for the government propaganda, I would prefer to have a strong government running my country rather than a weak government running my country. And ergo, I think that yes, in that instance, I would prefer a strong public foundation for education rather than something more anarcho based. I don't have the means to defend myself against a horde of marauding bandits the way maybe an organized force might be able to. So I'm thankful that those kinds of things don't go on in my current world. So I would say just keep the public education system, even if you think that it's an expression of big government. I don't know that you could even argue that big government is necessarily negative.
So I think
security. It's a very good nationalist argument.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I don't think abolishing a public school system is not the route I would choose to go. Right? You spread the word of homeschooling. The people that want to engage in that will, and they will see its fruits, and they will spread the word. And that's part of what I'm trying to do with this. Right? Is encourage the people that are either thinking about it or might be thinking about it to try it out, to give it a go, because I think it is useful. It's to not be under someone else's thumb constantly. When you think about CPS and all that they get involved with school, and if you're tardy to school too many times, your kid gets detention because your failures, and how that plays out, and then you got somebody knocking on your door and make sure you got your vaccines and all that other nonsense that comes along with it. So
where do you fall on vaccines?
I mean, if you want to, go for it, man. It's your body.
What do you personally do? Is that too personal?
No. So we have 4 kids. Our oldest one, our oldest 2, we really drew them out. As long as we could. They both my kids went to public school for, my son went for kindergarten. My daughter did not. She went to a preschool, for her first couple of years, and they required, some vaccines. So we did, but we really, drew it out as long as we could. We didn't follow the mandated schedule. And now that they're homeschooled, anything else that they're going to go, we'll take a look at. Some things are really unnecessary, right? Like a chickenpox vaccine, or an HPV vaccine for like my 10-year-old.
That's a weird one.
Well, there's, things like that, how necessary is some of this stuff, or a flu vaccine? Why is that? Why is that necessary? And I don't trust it. I don't think that all these things are necessarily a good thing. When you think about the paradigm of what we are under, right? That I don't know. Vaccine. I talked about this once upon a time. So my idea is like, so we give people a vaccine, right, to take care of chickenpox, right? There's no more chickenpox. Great. You don't get chickenpox. But what else does that cause? What else happens? Is there some other reaction in the body that we aren't aware of? Maybe getting chickenpox helped us do something else, right? Maybe eradicating smallpox did something to, up your chances of some sort of cancer or something. Who knows? Like we don't know all the connections in the body. We don't understand everything about us. We don't understand our world around us. We have an idea, but it's not all encompassing. So we just work on what we think is right. And so many times we've gone back and revamped science and revamped, how we understand viruses and diseases. And I just,
I'm pro Ben for the record. So that's everything you just shared. I'm 100% on board with.
All right.
Is this a typical dialogue? Do you bring people that are just like-minded with you and you just agree all day? Or do you like bring on these hard-edged opinions and have them battle it out?
No, I usually just one person at a time. And it's more, what do you do on your homestead, right? What do you do on your homestead that somebody else might not do that, we can, oh, so you do that with your horses. So maybe I'll do this with my horses, or maybe that gate works, or,
Is this going to go down as the worst podcast or the best podcast interview? Because I know it's not going to be somewhere in the middle based on how you just described that.
I don't know. It depends. I think, I don't know.
The Never Played podcast.
No, it'll go. It'll get out there.
Okay.
But,
all right.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think the optimal podcast length has been?
I usually do about half an hour.
Yeah, that's exactly what I shoot for, 30 to 45 minutes. So I think we're running up against the time limit coming up in a few minutes, but I want a really hot question here at the end, a really hot take. What do we got from you two? I'm speaking to you, Ben. I'm speaking to you, Lootie. What do you guys got that you cannot agree on by the end of the show?
It's a real question of who gets to go first, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I want it short and sweet. Everybody's talking.
I agree to short and sweet.
Everybody's talking way too long. We don't have much time. So, Lootie,
Ben, it's Ben's show. He gets to decide who goes first.
I'm okay. It doesn't matter. Lootie, you want to go for it? Go for it.
So therefore, Lootie has to make the positive argument. You have to make an argument in the affirmative.
Wait,
yeah, why? You have a giant mess in a room, and you go into it like your kitchen's looking awful. It's got dishes all over the place. It's gross as fuck. Why would you just destroy and remodel your kitchen rather than just clean your kitchen?
So he's
reform first.
He's pro-reform.
Do not revolve.
Pro-clean.
You don't need to change the whole system.
That's short and sweet.
Stick to it.
Pro-clean.
Make it better.
Wow, make it better. Okay, so now we go to Ben, who would be.
No, I would like to go next.
You're not involved in this. You're out of this.
I have an absolute knockout response, so I'm going to go. I'm going to go, Ben.
Okay.
Here's the problem: is Mr. Lootie over here wants to run a tyrannical model, where what I'm saying is create a marketplace. Once you homeschool, you let families decide how to educate their children, how to add values to their children. When you allow a marketplace of people to be raised, and some get raised properly, some don't, the weak will fall out. As horrible as I sound saying that, but the strong will keep going. And the fact is there's my argument to the dirty kitchen. Where this is so much deeper than a dirty kitchen, even in the first place. An analogy like that just doesn't work. It is absolutely not a reformation. It is a revolution in the future of hoping this world can stick together and have peace one day forever.
Yeah, I if you want to clean your kitchen, go for it. I'm going to go use my other kitchen and I'm not going to pay for your kitchen anymore. Right. Like that's like how it, right? Like why do I have to use a broken system? If you want to work on reforming it, go for it. When it's all fixed up, maybe I'll pay you to use it again. But for the time being, I'd rather not. And I think that's
based answer, Ben. Thank you.
Well, anyway, so man, so anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up there.
Flies, Ben.
It does.
Time
It does.
absolutely flies, don't it?
Yeah. So I guess that's your answer for everything then, Theodore. Just let us all pay for it. I know you've kind of moved around a little bit in the last few months, I feel like.
The big move is that I got a big problem with the Libertarian Party, but I hate them so much that I don't even give them free airtime anymore. So if you don't mind,
I will cut that out.
No, I'm just kidding around. I'm just saying I don't talk about them in detail anymore. Everybody knows that they're a joke, and we're going to get rid of them as quickly as possible. So that was the pivot that I made. But yeah, besides that, it's all just crowdfunding government is the best way to do any type of public expenditure. Voluntarily pay it. So that's all I was here to say. I'm just trying to plug Twitter at crowdfundedgov, and you can go to crowdfundedgovernment.com and check out the blog and all the podcast appearances. And this was really fun because I wanted.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I've done dozens of appearances, and
7 seconds.
And I have a hard time staying under 7 seconds on my plug, so leave me alone. So I just want to thank my friends. We got Hans and Wino over here. Lootie. And that was fun, Ben. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again sometime next year.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on.
See how you're doing,
Yeah. All right, you guys, I'm back here by my lonesome. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it was interesting to say the least. Amusing, hopefully entertaining. Those wonderful, wonderful words you can think of. Who knows? Maybe you hated it. If you did, I'm sorry. Anyway, I did get to talk to Theodore a little bit after the show about some of his ideas and things that I wanted to get on the show, but I'm going to throw those in the bonus content for you. If you are a patron of the show, you can get that there, or, if not, still there for you whenever you decide to take that plunge. I don't know. You can get some other stuff too, some cool stuff besides bonus content. Throw you guys some seeds that I've saved from the back garden here, and who knows what else in the future I might decide to send out to people. Maybe anyway. You can do that by going to patreon.com/thelibertyhippie. Go to iTunes and leave a review. Hit the subscribe button, or, don't, I guess. Either way, I know you guys go to Amazon. Go to homesteadsandhomeschools.com/Amazon. Click through the fancy little link there, and I get a kickback on whatever you purchase. It's not much, but it helps defray some of the costs and everything else that goes into this. So, and if not, that's cool too. I get it. All good. But yeah, that's all for this week, you guys. Go check out Crowdfunded Government and see what that's all about. If it piques your fancy, if it's something that you hadn't thought about before, take the dive, take the plunge, check it out, see what it is. That's all for now, guys. Come back next week, and hopefully I'll have another show next week. Who knows? I'm looking for guests. If you got ideas, let me know. Let me know. Yeah, guys, you get out there, sow those seeds of liberty. We can all reap seeds of freedom together.